This chart analysis is based on a birth time of 11:58 p.m., which gives Jimin a Cancer rising. With Cancer rising, Jimin's 7th house cusp falls in Capricorn, meaning his future spouse is symbolized by Capricorn, and more specifically by Saturn, which is Capricorn's ruling planet. In his chart, Saturn is placed in Pisces in the 9th house, adding layers of meaning to the kind of partner he may attract. When the ruler of the 7th house is in the 9th house, this can show a foreign spouse or meeting his spouse while traveling or through overseas opportunities. Additionally, Neptune and Uranus closely conjunct his 7th house lends their influence to both the personality and life experiences of his future spouse. These placements, Saturn in Pisces and the Neptune-Uranus conjunction, will form the foundation of our predictions about his future partner. Saturn is associated with the past and the preservation of traditional values. Think classical knowledge, established systems, and time-tested principles. In contrast, Uranus represents change, liberation, innovation, and disruption. Uranus rules over technological advancement, humanitarian reform, and revolutionary shifts in collective thinking. When these two energies coexist, they represent a person who honors tradition yet also embraces progress and challenges the status quo. Jimin's spouse likely respects structure and consensus, but she's not confined by them, recognizing when it's time to evolve beyond outdated norms. This dual influence makes her both grounded and forward-thinking, capable of strategic planning and long-term vision, while also remaining adaptable, innovative, and responsive to change. With Saturn in Pisces, especially along with Neptune's influence, she likely possesses a deep sensitivity to human suffering, collective struggles, and the invisible wounds that lie beneath the surface of everyday life. These placements blend Saturn's realism with Pisces' compassion, pointing to a spouse who carries a strong empathy, likely shaped by personal struggles with hardship and emotional pain. Her experiences in life likely deepened her understanding of life's more delicate and intangible dimensions. Her maturity is not only practical, but also emotional and spiritual. With Saturn in Pisces, religious and spiritual studies and soul growth are taken seriously. Inner development and soul fulfillment are just as important to her as external accomplishments, influencing her choices in life. She may exude a calm, soulful presence, one that reflects both inner resilience and a quiet reverence for life's fragility. She knows how to balance structure with empathy, setting boundaries with grace and formality, and pairing discipline with dreams. Whether her path lies in healing, the arts, or community-centered work, she is likely to approach it with sincerity, depth, and a strong sense of purpose and responsibility. Jimin's future spouse is someone responsible, dependable, goal-oriented, and wise beyond her years. She is serious, mature, and probably a little guarded. She values discipline and structure. She probably has a strong inner critic and well-defined personal boundaries that leads her to open up slowly, needing time to build trust before allowing others into her inner world. Saturn is also a key player in a larger planetary configuration involving Jimin's moon in Gemini and Jupiter in Sagittarius. These three planets form what is called a T-square, a dynamic and often challenging aspect pattern. In this formation, Saturn creates a square aspect to both the moon and Jupiter, while the moon and Jupiter oppose each other, creating the red triangle pattern of tension in the chart. The moon symbolizes emotional instincts and inner needs, while Jupiter represents expansion, growth, and idealism. The moon opposite Jupiter brings emotional excess and a heightened longing for comfort, luxury, and an easy, abundant life. Yet, Saturn's influence introduces a sobering, a pressurized tone, often experienced as self-doubt, emotional restraint, or a sense of limitation. Together, they create a persistent inner tension in your life, the feeling that what she deeply desires, emotional freedom, joy, expansion, or a more fulfilling life, is just out of reach. Saturn tempers Jupiter's optimism with realism, fear, and the need for control, making the pursuit of dreams feel burdensome. Aspirations like travel, higher education, or personal growth may come with delays, sacrifices, or a constant sense of uphill effort. This interplay suggests that Jimin's spouse may experience life as an ongoing uphill climb, where progress is earned through resilience, discipline, and sacrifice. On another level, the Saturn-Moon square represents the energetic dynamic between Jimin and his spouse. Since the Moon rules Jimin's Cancer ascendant, representing him, and Saturn rules his descendant, representing his partner. This reflects a fundamental tension between their needs, perspectives, and approaches to life. It suggests that they come from very different backgrounds or emotional conditioning, making it challenging to fully merge their lives or find seamless emotional alignment. On a deeper level, this aspect highlights the tension between Jimin and what he believes is required of him to maintain stability or earn love within a partnership. He may subconsciously associate deep commitment with a sense of limitation, often perceiving commitment as weighed down by duty and responsibility. As a result, this can result as hesitation, a fear of vulnerability, or a tendency to feel burdened by the demands that relationship brings. This can be due to the type of partners he typically attracts, those that have Saturnian traits, serious, mature, and in some cases, individuals who exert authority or impose rules or regulations that feel confining. Such dynamics may activate a subconscious belief that being in a relationship requires surrendering to another's will at the cost of his individuality and personal freedom, echoed by Uranus in the 7th house, squaring his sun. While his future spouse may bring certain expectations or limitations that challenge him, she is also likely to offer deep compassion, spiritual depth, and a strong respect for individuality, as she too values space and freedom within the marriage. Another way to interpret their dynamic carries more difficult or cautionary undertones, particularly due to the trine between Saturn and Mars. While both Mars and Saturn serve essential roles in astrology, representing discipline, action, structure, and drive, they are traditionally known as malefics, as their influence often brings about struggle, loss, or damage. When linked, even through a reinforcing aspect like the trine, they can intensify one another's harsh qualities. In Jimin's chart, Saturn forms a square to the Moon and a trine to Mars, suggesting that while his future spouse may be hardworking, ambitious, and resilient, her presence could also introduce certain challenges or hardships in his life. This doesn't necessarily mean she intends harm, but rather that the relationship itself may demand emotional labor, hardship, or difficulties. Uranus and Neptune square his Sun, and Saturn quincunx the Sun can signal periods of unpredictability or disruption in financial matters, potentially linked to his spouse or the lifestyle they share, as the Sun rules over his 2nd house of personal finance. Neptune, in its more challenging expressions, especially alongside the Saturn-Moon square, can point to a spouse who is in need of help, healing, or support. In extreme cases, this could manifest as a spouse with escapist tendencies, emotional or mental health problems, or substance abuse. The spouse may be someone who carries deep wounds or unresolved emotional issues that place pressure on the marriage and family life. The Sun's proximity to the 4th house cusp suggests that Jimin's relationship with his family or his sense of home and inner stability may experience possible disruption. The Sun quincunx Saturn, bridging the 4th and the 9th houses, reflects the ongoing need to reconcile a sense of stability with the demands of travel, distance, or even relocation as a result of his relationship. At times, he may feel emotionally unanchored, especially if his spouse is rooted in a foreign country or comes from a vastly different cultural background. This can create an underlying sense of dislocation as though he's caught between two worlds. With Saturn ruling his 7th house of marriage, marriage may come later in life for him, and the relationship itself may be more unconventional or non-traditional than what we might expect with Uranus positioned on the 7th house. This could manifest as a partnership that requires him to divide his life between two places or navigate a non-traditional living arrangement. As with any marriage, there will be challenges. After all, merging two lives is never without its complexities. But through his marriage, Jimin is likely to evolve in meaningful ways, gaining wisdom, maturity, discipline, and devotion, especially through navigating the difficulties he encounters with his spouse. That's all for today's analysis. Hope this reading offered you new astrological insights. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope to see you again soon.